We're diving straight into the epic rise and fall of Jalandhar today. So picture an ancient era, right? A time where the entire universe was resting on this unbelievably delicate, perfectly tuned balance. But what happens when the literal guardians of that balance, the gods themselves, start letting their egos run the show? The source material we're unpacking in this explainer details a massive cosmic war. And it wasn't just some standard clash of weapons. It was a full-blown collision of immense arrogance and raw primal energy. The gods had basically grown way too proud, actually, believing they were utterly invincible. And as we're going to see, that unchecked pride completely shattered the universal equilibrium, triggering the terrifying birth of an unstoppable new power. So what exactly happens when the gods let their own ego dictate their actions? Well, the universe demands a profound reset. According to the text, the supreme deity, Lord Shiva, witnessed this catastrophic shift in cosmic harmony. And his response wasn't just a slap on the wrist. It was the ultimate destructive force. We're talking about a blinding cosmic anger that physically manifested. The sky turned black. Time itself literally seemed to freeze. And this terrifyingly fierce flame of pure destruction shot directly out of Shiva's third eye, tearing straight through the heaven. Now, that apocalyptic fire didn't just fizzle out. It crashed headfirst into the boiling ocean. But, and here's the crazy part, the water didn't extinguish the flame. Instead, the sea just violently churned and spun. From this impossible fusion of divine fire and turbulent water, a child actually emerged. The sea god found this boy, a child whose very eyes held the literal fire of Shiva and whose body was forged by the ocean's immense power. The sea god adopted him on the spot, naming him Jalandhar, a being born completely out of absolute elemental chaos. Jalandhar's evolution from that moment on was just unstoppable. Day one, he's literally born from fire and water. Then, during his childhood, the sea god trains him in heavy warfare and strategy. But everything really shifted into overdrive when Jalandhar realized his true divine origin, that he was born directly from Shiva's wrath. Refusing to let that kind of potential slip away, he retreated into the darkest forests, enduring severe starvation and going completely sleepless in an intensely rigorous penance. Finally, this unimaginable discipline forced the creator god, Lord Brahma, to physically appear. As a reward for all that unimaginable discipline, Jalandhar didn't ask for something small. He demanded absolute invincibility in battle. He wanted a guarantee that no god could ever defeat him. And Brahma actually granted the staggering request, but with one fatal condition attached. Jalandhar would remain completely invincible, but only for as long as his wife remained perfectly pure and devoted. It's such a fascinating cosmic loophole. Jalandhar accepted the deal, totally unaware that this one specific condition was going to become his absolute undoing. Armed with this incredible boon, Jalandhar moved exceptionally fast. First, he united the scattered, warring asuras, the demons, bringing them all together under a single, formidable flag as their undisputed king. And then comes the ultimate irony. He marries a woman named Vrinda. Now, Vrinda was a flawlessly devoted, extraordinarily pure worshipper of Lord Vishnu. By marrying a devout follower of the very gods he was about to fight, Jalandhar unknowingly locked down his condition, completely securing his impenetrable cosmic shield. With his power now absolute, he turns his sights to the skies and launches a massive, unrelenting invasion directly on heaven. The collision between Jalandhar and the gods was brutal. Indra, the king of gods, steps up and confronts him, demanding he leave heaven immediately. But Jalandhar, he just smiles and delivers this chilling truth. Authority is taken by power, Indra. So Indra strikes Jalandhar with his ultimate weapon, the mighty lightning bolt known as the Vajra, and nothing, absolutely nothing happens. The weapon completely fails against Jalandhar's boon. For the very first time, genuine terror strikes the eyes of the gods as Jalandhar retaliates with a single devastating blow. 3. Heaven had fallen, but Jalandhar absolutely did not stop there. He rapidly expanded his military campaign to conquer all 3 realms of the cosmos: heaven, earth, and the underworld. Across the entire universe, only one name was echoing. Jalandhar was now the supreme ruler. The gods were utterly defeated, stripped of their homes and their authority, desperately scrambling to find some way to break his invincible armor. There's a really profound contrast here that we have to talk about. On one hand, you've got Jalandhar commanding this loud, immense military power, striking physical fear across the entire cosmos. But on the other hand, the true source of his invincibility is his wife, Vrinda.
Her power is entirely different. It's silent. It's rooted in unyielding spiritual devotion and absolute purity. Her quiet faith literally forms an impenetrable shield around her husband. The gods quickly realized that throwing military might at him was completely useless. To defeat Jalandhar, they would somehow have to breach the silent devotion of Vrinda. And this brings the gods to a massive moral dilemma. Defeated and totally desperate, they approach Lord Vishnu, who is essentially their absolute last hope. Vishnu evaluates the whole situation and reveals Jalandhar's secret, that his power lies entirely in his wife's purity. So, here is the million-dollar question. Is it justifiable to destroy an innocent, spiritually devoted woman just to save the cosmos from a tyrant? The lines between right and wrong become incredibly blurred here. The gods are supposed to uphold dharma, righteousness, yet they're sitting around contemplating a deeply deceitful act. After a moment of profound internal struggle, literally weighing the survival of the universe against the sanctity of his own greatest devotee, Vishnu makes his agonizing choice. He says if creation is to be saved, we must do this. The source material imparts this pretty neutrally. To restore the balance of the universe, Vishnu acknowledged he had to commit an act of dark deception. It's a decision the text notes will remain heavily debated and controversial for all of history. So, the devastating plan unfolds in this tragic domino effect. First, while Jalandhar's away at war, Vishnu takes on Jalandhar's exact physical form and shows up at Vrinda's palace. Second, Vrinda, completely overjoyed to see her husband, embraces him without a shred of suspicion, which unintentionally breaks the absolute purity of her devotion. Third, the reaction is instantaneous. Out on the battlefield, Jalandhar's cosmic invincibility just shatters. He suddenly weakens. And fourth, back at the palace, Vrinda senses the truth, sees right through the illusion, and is utterly devastated by the betrayal. Vrinda's heartbreak instantly mutated into intense, agonizing fury. She looked right at the god she had worshipped her entire life, the one who had just deceived her, and she cursed him. She declared that just as he turned her into stone emotionally, he would physically turn into stone himself. This furious curse actually resulted in the creation of the Shaligram, a sacred stone that represents Lord Vishnu to this very day. Having lost her faith, her husband, and her purity, Vrinda made the tragic final choice to step into a fire. But her story does not end in those ashes. Vrinda's sacrifice and her exceptionally pure soul were immortalized. From her ashes grew the sacred Tulsi plant. Because of her unparalleled, though tragically betrayed devotion, the Tulsi plant became an eternal and absolutely essential part of worshipping Lord Vishnu. Her legacy is quite literally rooted in the rituals of the very deity who deceived her. It's a haunting reminder of her immense power and her tragic end. Meanwhile, back out on the battlefield, the shield is gone, Jalandhar is totally vulnerable, and suddenly the sky rips open with a terrifying roar as Lord Shiva himself steps onto the battlefield. The creator and the ultimate destroyer are finally face to face. Shiva looks at the warrior born from his own fire and delivers this incredibly heavy truth. Your birth was from my anger, and today your end will be by my hands. The time for balance to be violently restored has officially arrived. So we get to the final clash, and what follows is a genuinely cinematic, earth-shattering battle. Jalandhar, desperate but fiercely proud, unleashes literally everything his immense power has left. He's throwing entire mountains through the sky. He's causing the oceans to boil over, raining fire across the heavens. But Shiva, he just stands there, remarkably calm, effortlessly deflecting every single apocalyptic attack. This wasn't just a physical fight. It was a profound collision between the raw, chaotic force of absolute destruction and the inevitable, terrifying calm of cosmic creation and order. Realizing his end is near, Jalandhar gathers every ounce of his remaining strength for one final, blinding attack. But Shiva simply raises his ultimate weapon, the Trishul, his divine trident. With a single, decisive motion aimed at restoring the universe's equilibrium, Shiva hurls it. The Trishul pierces Jalandhar's heart, and instantly, the catastrophic noise of war just stops. An eerie, profound silence washes over the entire cosmos as the battle abruptly ends. Yet, as his body falls, the blinding anger completely vanishes from Jalandhar's eyes. It's replaced by this strange, deep peace. He looks at Shiva and smiles. In that final moment, he realizes he was never just a warrior or a king. He was simply a cosmic tool. He was a necessary force of destruction born specifically to shatter the gods' arrogance and force a reset of the universe. With that ultimate realization, his body dissolves right back into the water from which it was originally born. Taking a step back, the source material for this myth presents a deeply complex web of moral gray areas. Nobody is entirely righteous here. You've got Jalandhar, completely corrupted by immense power and ego. You've got the gods, who cowardly resorted to deceit just to protect their own thrones. You have Vrinda, who possessed the purest devotion but suffered the most horrific betrayal imaginable. And then there's Vishnu, forced into making the absolute darkest choice for the greater good. It is the story where righteousness is incredibly messy, and it comes at a huge cost.
Ultimately, this explainer leaves us pondering the very nature of existence. Jalandhar was a symbol of unchecked power, for sure, but he was also a totally necessary part of the cosmic balance. Because think about it, without the terrifying threat of destruction, how can we ever truly respect and understand the delicate value of creation? Unchecked power always demands a reset, no matter who happens to be holding it. It's a completely fascinating cycle to think about. Thanks so much for joining me to unpack this, and keep questioning the delicate balance of the world around you.